Hello again, all 15 people who watched my first video, and to everyone who didn't, hello for the first time. I'm Ferrikster, here to bring you some Pokemon Go Battle League battles. These battles are going to take place in the Great League. Holiday Cup is over, all 3 leagues are available, and Great League is just the most accessible. It has the widest meta, and it's cheaper to power things up and experiment with, so that tends to be where I play. This is actually not an experimental spice team. This is my regular team. This is my standard team. I open Shadow Charizard. I have Pelipper and Azumarill in the back. They do a pretty good job of covering Charizard's horrendous weakness to things with medium to high bulk that are spammy, and also to Azumarill itself and Galarian Stunfisk, both very, very popular picks. Also would totally lose to Vigoroth, and a lot of other things that can just spam out moves and are a little bit bulkier. So I tend to lead with Shadow Charizard because I like being able to build up some energy before the charge moves get thrown. So even when I'm in one of many matches that would be losing for Charizard in all shields, I still can generally safely power up some energy first before switching out to Azumarill or to Pelipper, who will both kind of sponge up the damage. And Charizard can save his energy for times where it would be a lot more efficient to throw. Charizard also has pretty good synergy with Pelipper around the end game, towards the end of the match, because they can spam out cheap moves. So since most opponents tend to avoid shielding against Azumarill, if you have 2 Pokemon in the back that kind of spam out moves, any of those shields that were saved can't really be used very efficiently to shield big, heavy-hitting moves because there are none to throw. Meanwhile, if they are out of shields, then I can Blast Burn, and Blast Burn hurts a lot to everything except Azumarill, who is fine. Does like 40%. So let's hop into this match against Mupogo. Charizard into Azumarill. This is a losing battle for me, so I switch out right away because the bubble damage is actually just too great for it to be worth staying in to charge up energy. It's one of the only matchups where I leave immediately. Umbreon comes in, and Umbreon has a lot of neutral matchups with a lot of things. It would definitely pummel Charizard in even shields. Charizard to win would have to shield bait with Dragon Claw and land Blast Burns, and that's too difficult. Don't really have a positive matchup in Pelipper either, but I will kind of be able to slightly outpace, although not nearly outdamage. So here they're going to throw the foul play, and I'm going to shield this one. I'm about to sneeze. Okay. And now I have the energy, but I'm not going to throw it because I'm going to wait till they get up the energy for a foul play and then switch into Azumarill to catch it. Because I already had a move built up but hadn't thrown it, they felt pressure to throw out the foul play as soon as they could rather than building up additional energy beforehand. So then their Azumarill comes out after I actively switch to mine, which is surprising because I kind of expected them to save Azumarill for Charizard. So whatever else they have in the back must be pretty weak to Azumarill. So this might be Azumarill Double Dark or something. So my Azu goes down. I had sped that battle up to 3 times. That's why it finished before I finished talking. Don't want you to have to sit through it. And I land the Hurricane. Mandibuzz comes out. I throw 2 wing attacks because I'm not too sure what I should have been doing, and the answer was actually switch to Charizard right away. Charizard gets outpaced if we're just going straight Blast Burn, straight Foul Play, because it's 3.5 Snarls to the Foul Play and 5 Fire Spins to the Blast Burn, and they take the same amount of time. But Mandibuzz actually is one of the few Pokemon that hits softly enough that even Shadowzard can survive it. So he's going to have to land 2, whereas I only really need to get 1 Blast Burn in and some additional Fire Spins. I managed to squeeze in an extra Fire Spin as my opponent starts to throw, so even though he has stacked up back-to-back foul plays, he only manages to get out 1, and feints with a foul play of energy. But that was definitely the right play. So good game to my opponent. It's just unfortunate for them that I managed to sneak in a Fire Spin. Next up against John the Savage, Charizard into Jirachi, another favorable lead for me, although the confusions do hurt quite a lot. Switch into Umbreon, and I switch into Azumarill right away. It feels like it would make sense to charge up more energy with Charizard. Like that's been what I've been preaching, is the point of this team, to charge up energy with Charizard before switching out. But for Umbreon specifically, if you let them charge past 2 Snarls, like let's say you go to 4, and then you try to switch in Azumarill to catch. If you fail on that catch, and you're just going to get last resorted the whole way down, they can shield once, and you have to shield once to maintain switch. And then they can shield twice, and even if you shield twice, they'll still be able to overtake you. It's a little bit IV dependent, and depends on if you're sneaking in moves or not, but for the most part, that definitely becomes plausible. Whereas, if you switch out into Azumarill when they're just at 2 Snarls, then they, if they shield once, you don't have to shield and you'll still take it, and if they shield twice, then you don't shield at all, and they'll win switch advantage but have very little health and not a lot to show for it. Things happened, and I was talking about something else, but there's a Scrafty out now, and Pelipper is being sicked on it. Pelipper has a pretty okay matchup because, flying versus fighting, although Scrafty is pretty bulky and the foul plays still hurt a surprising amount for something with so much bulk. I'm going to let this go because my Charizard can come out, get 1 Fire Spin in, and take out... my opponent undercharges, which was definitely the right move. The only reason they even threw, because they want me to have as much health as possible, is because they were hoping that I would not realize and use my last shield, which would definitely have flipped the matchup, so those were all the right plays. But now Jirachi is going to have to stack up back-to-back moves and doesn't quite get there. So I managed to take that match. But I mean, I won the lead, so come on. Next up, against a Lanier, Charizard into Meganium, very, very favorable lead for me. They switch out after throwing 1 Vine Whip, and I switch out without throwing my 3rd Fire Spin. Really should have. Throwing the 3rd Fire Spin against Galarian Stunfisk before switching to Azu actually makes that particular matchup a lot cleaner. Because you can survive the 2nd Earthquake, or at least mine can survive the 2nd Earthquake, so I don't have to spend a shield. But because I didn't get that Fire Spin worth of damage in, I am going to have to shield the 2nd Earthquake. And actually, they had enough energy where they actually would have been able to bait with Rock Slide and then throw an Earthquake. So that would have been pretty bad for me if it had gone down that way. Now Meganium comes back out, but thankfully I was able to bubble all the way down, so I have decent amounts of energy. I throw the first Ice Beam, which they do not shield because it does not KO, and I just barely get to the next Ice Beam before getting KO'd by the Vine Whips. So that's amazing, can burn up one of their shields, so now we're shield even again. Charizard out, and Deoxys comes in. So rather than throw the Blast Burn, I, in this game, opted to go with Dragon Claw. Not sure that's the right choice. Just going straight 2 Blast Burns probably would have been more sensible. But since Meganium has plenty more play against Pelipper, I switch Pelipper in to be a damage sponge after chipping away with weak moves. And now I can just chip with Pelipper's weak moves to eat up a shield, or have a shield basically be wasted on a cheap move. And I'm also just willing to let Pelipper fall here. Like, I was totally prepared for Pelipper to get one-shotted by a Thunderbolt, and when it didn't happen, that was also fine. But I initially switched in because I was anticipating getting clobbered with Thunderbolt, and just having Charizard come back in, shield, and just charge all the way up. But this outcome is fine too. Whatever gets me the win, I'll definitely take it. Next up, against Boober Monkey, who has a fantastic name. Charizard into Scrafty. So Scrafty actually has a winning matchup against Charizard in even shields because Foul Play comes out sooner than Blast Burn. You have to bait to win that matchup. So since it's not really safe, I try to switch out into Azumarill to catch the Foul Play, which would be fantastic if it happened. And I also have everything of mine is kind of ish an answer to Scrafty. Like Scrafty doesn't club or anything, so I don't really have to worry about it as much. And another fighter came out when I switched, which is surprising. Toxicroak doesn't have a great matchup versus Azumarill when Azumarill's up a bubble. Like if they're in the lead and it's starting, then it's more or less fine. But as a switch, I don't know if it's what I would do. So I am wondering while I'm getting countered down what he has in the back. And if I had only gotten to that Ice Beam, it could have really made a huge difference. I was there, I just didn't get a chance to throw it before I fainted. So I'm going to shield this first, thinking maybe it would be a Sludge Bomb, and it was just a Mud Bomb. And now I try to throw this Dragon Claw, but I end up CMP tying, which hopefully my Dragon Claw didn't register, but it did. So now I'm wasting this energy completely. I could have just fast moved down and had a Blast Burn ready for whatever came out, which was a Bastiodon, which takes neutral damage from fire, so it would have been significant. Would have done like 50, maybe 55, 60%. But I switched into Pelipper, and it actually would have been fine for Bastiodon to stay in, because it can actually just smack down the whole way, and in the Zero Shield it can throw its charge move and take me out before I'm able to take it out, because it takes 3 Weather Ball Waters. But instead, Scrafty came out, and I was able to Wing Attack all the way down. Unfortunately, my opponent gets in a Smackdown in the middle of my attacks, so I'm only able to throw off 1, and it wouldn't have mattered because Charizard wasted its energy on Toxicroak. So, yeah, I really botched that game. That was not played very well at all, but wasn't ready for that team. Fighter in the front and a fighter in the back, and then a non-fighter in the back. It's just structured a little differently from the way people seem to be structuring things nowadays, with it being ABB. This team, by the way, is not really structured to be an ABB team, even though it is fire with double water in the back. Because Azumarill and Pelipper function so differently from each other. They cover different things, and it's just... So Charizard isn't really trying to switch out of a neutral matchup to bait out something so that it can come back in and recharge. It's more just trying to build up energy and then let that energy be dumped somewhere else. So Abomasnow versus Azumarill. I play this by just never shielding, and I think that's what everyone does because the Abomasnows never seem to bait. So I'm assuming no one ever shields, so they never need to bait. If they baited a lot, I would assume that some people must shield. And, you know, sometimes they would have to get lucky and catch that. So I sent Pelipper out instead of having sent Charizard because I want Pelipper to just kind of take the energy. And now I'm also going to just eat this move because both of my opponent's Pokemon have pretty low health, and Charizard can kind of just fast move down from this point. I have 2 shields and, like, I don't know, 80 energy already. Could definitely have thrown moves at some point. This game is... This is not my best play either. That's for sure. This is mostly a team composition win game because their entire team is weak to fire. So that's why I was able to talk over it and talk about something else. Next up, against Bloody Bananas, who has an even better name than the last guy who had a good name. Opens the Azumarill. That's terrible for me. I like to switch out to Pelipper instantly, but I misclicked the button because it's tiny, and so I threw a Fire Spin first. And now Melmetal comes out to meet my Pelipper, and that's terrible. Really, really bad. Pelipper doesn't really outpace Melmetal. They get to the Rock Slides, I think just 1 fast move slower. So even with 2 shields, I'm not going to be able to gain enough on them. If I'm able to slip in some extra wing attacks and prevent them from sneaking in additional Thunder Shocks, then maybe it can be done. But they've actually snuck in more moves than I have, because I don't know, they're playing really well. And I had built up more energy than necessary to throw my move rather than throwing right away, because I was hoping maybe it would help them miscount so that they would charge up more energy, but they didn't. Too smart for that. But at least I get Charizard out to farm the rest of the way down, insta-switch my Azumarill into theirs, and it's Berserker in the back. So Azumarill double steal. Kind of a counter to my team, but not horribly. So Berserker doesn't have any good charge moves to use. It's just got close combat and foul play. Throws one, I sneak in a bubble, which is nice, and throws the second one right away. If they had not thrown the second one right away, I think they would have survived one extra bubble, and that would have maybe not been very impactful. It might actually be better that they didn't, because if I had one extra bubble, I'd have a little more energy, and that might have made a difference. So I switch as soon as they have the play rough, anticipating they're going to throw right away. I managed to catch it on my Charizard, and it's resisted, but it still hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much as I actually would have needed it to hurt, because now they're able to bubble me the rest of the way down. I land the one blast burn that I'm able to, and they were able to get back all of the energy that they spent throwing the play rough and are able to throw play rough. If I had had one more bubble, I guess I actually would have been able to throw that Ice Beam. But I lose mostly MP ties. Next up against Stone Collection. Not even Stone Collector. He wants you to know that he doesn't collect rocks. He is rocks. Stone Collection throws in Galvantula, which devastates my team completely. Actually, if he had played out the Medicham matchup and left Galvantula in the back, would have completely bodied me. So thankfully, he swapped it in. Charizard can take Galvantula in even shield scenarios, just because I get to the Dragon Claw just before they get to the... Well, when they switch in. When they're actually in the lead, they will win the CMP tie. So when they're in the lead, I will just shield once and just Fire Spin all the way down. That is the cleanest way to take care of that match. So now they bring in Azumarill, which I meet with Pelipper. Pelipper can win this with a shield advantage. Azumarill should always just throw Ice Beam. Ice Beam, Play Rough, Hydro Pump. It doesn't matter what you throw as the Azumarill. You're going to have to throw two moves no matter what, and the bubbles just don't add up to anything. So always makes sense to just go with the cheaper move and throw the Ice Beams. I shielded one, landed the Hurricane that I needed to get the Azumarill reasonably low. And now I can send in a Azumarill, and since I know they just have Medicham in the back because that was their lead, I can just get up to the Play Rough, throw that, and bubble the rest of the way down and have a Play Rough ready for the Azumarill that comes out. But they're loading up on energy, so I switch and throw my Dragon Claw, just being a little bit fancy. Totally unnecessary, and doing this actually means my Charizard faints, so it probably wouldn't be considered the kind thing to do. But now they've got a 0 health Azumarill versus my Azumarill in near full, and my opponent resigns the game. Next up against Rookymon 9. I don't believe that he's actually a rookie, just as I don't believe the last opponent was made of rocks. Because Rookymon is pretty highly rated right now. So Scrafty again, definitely having flashbacks about the last Scrafty, not looking to make the same mistake. So I built up the Blast Burn, bait with Dragon Claw. Some lag happened. Maybe it gave me a free fast move. Maybe not. And because I baited and they shielded, look at how much damage that rock does. Oh my god, that's so much damage. Because they baited, or because I baited their Scrafty and got the shield, it made them want to bait back to kind of get that the advantage that I'd gotten, to take it back and put that matchup into more even play. Because it does feel like you need to do that sometimes, you know? When someone baits you, it tends to make people want to bait back to get that advantage that the opponent got back and get you back to level playing field. So that kind of, if you understand psychologically kind of how your opponent is feeling after something you've done lands, it can kind of help you make more informed decisions about whether they're going to try to bait you or switch out and when they're going to do those sorts of things. So Scrafty comes back out. I throw the Blast Burn. Dragon Claw wouldn't have been enough. Foul Play takes me out, and I'm going to bring Pelipper in to farm Scrafty down. This energy will be very handy. I need a Weather Ball Water to be able to take out Bastiodon, and if this is the same line as before, which I assume it is, there's a Toxicroak in the back, which also can be taken out by Pelipper pretty cleanly. So, Toxicroak in the back. I don't want to throw the Hurricane because I'm sure they're going to try to catch it on Bastiodon. They try to catch here. They probably felt very hopeful, but it was just a Weather Ball Water because Weather Ball Water does plenty of damage to Toxicroak as is. Don't really need the Hurricane because the wing attacks and the Weather Ball Water can pretty much get the job done. Now Azumarill out with one bubble, and I had a shield left, so I was perfectly safe, even though I'm pretty sure they had a Mud Bomb ready. Next up, against Scruffy 309. All the other Scruffies were taken. Surfetched, positive match for me. Fire Spin down. I can throw this Dragon Claw since they have not thrown yet. If they shield, I will Mirror Shield. This would actually probably take them out if they didn't. And I sneak in an extra Fire Spin, which is fantastic. So Shield and Night Slash, and they switch at Marowak. I send in Pelipper. I don't think words. I don't think Pelipper is really the right choice anymore. Pelipper will leave this matchup with an awkward amount of HP. Too little to really get anything done, but too much because it provides so much farm for my opponent. This Marowak threw its move a little bit early, so I was able to just wing attack all the way down. But under normal circumstances, they are able to get to one more Fire Spin, which my opponent actually did. They just threw too early. And they can normally get out an extra Shadow Bone. Also, I Hurricaned when the Abomasnow came out because my opponent was already behind. So one of the only ways that they could really get back into the game would be to correctly call my bait. So I knew it was very unlikely that they were going to shield in that situation, so I just went for the heavy hitting move and took that game. But well played to my opponent. Those were all pretty good choices. It's exactly what I would have done. Next up, for my next set against Derp Ficus. This is the last set because this video is long. Charizard into Tropius, winning matchup. Sableye comes in. If I ever have energy on my Charizard and they switch into Sableye, I will always throw a Dragon Claw right away before switching out. Because you will always get a shield from a Sableye switch in. Sableye needs some health to be able to gain switch advantage. So if I throw a move and they don't shield, then something else can come in and just farm it down with fast moves because Sableye is kind of squishy. I sneak in a bubble there, which is great. I can eat this return, and I will just barely get to that Ice Beam and throw that out there. So now I'm up a shield. Stunfisk comes out. I could send Charizard out, shield once and Blast Burn, but if they catch the Blast Burn on Tropius, then I will kind of have a problem. So I just send out Pelipper. Pelipper can survive one Rock Slide because single weakness as opposed to Charizard's double weakness to Rock. And these Weather Ball Waters do sufficient damage. Now, I'm not going to throw the next one right away because I'm anticipating they're going to try to catch on Tropius. Catching something on something was definitely the only way that my opponent was going to win with the Pokemon that I had left and the shield advantage that I had. Since he didn't manage to make the catch, I'm able to take this game. Good game. Next match against Smarter Than You 6. Charizard into Abomasnow, very favorable lead. Actually throws a Powder Snow and gets hit with a Fire Spin, which is definitely not the right choice. Should definitely insta-switch to avoid that. Switches into Sableye, and since I didn't have energy on my Charizard, I just switch right away. Since I correctly shielded the return as opposed to getting baited, I will throw straight Ice Beams because, now I don't need to shield again because the return, if it had come out, would have been enough. That Sableye was only at 1460 CP, by the way. Normally they will get out a second return. My opponent just didn't because despite being smarter than you, he didn't know enough to use some XL Candy to get his Sableye up to high enough. So here's a Abomasnow, straight Energy Ball. I'm going to send Charizard back out. I am going to not shield this because I don't know what's in the back. And it turns out to be a Azumarill. We both insta-switched after the charge move. So now I have Pelipper versus Azu with a shield advantage. So Pelipper will be just fine. I just need to throw one Hurricane, and then one Weather Ball, and the associated wing attacks that I have been throwing will be enough to take it out. Just have to be careful not to let Azumarill sneak in extra bubbles. Just throwing at the right times. And because of the length of this particular match, it ends right when the switch clock is over. So now I can just switch back to the Charizard and throw the Dragon Claw and to clear up this game. We'll play to my opponent. I definitely had tons of advantages in that game, and they still made it incredibly close. So next up against Yasura Lead. Charizard into Deoxys. This is a neutral-ish matchup. If I can bait Dragon Claws and land Blast Burns, I can win, but I don't like doing that because failing the bait hurts a lot. It stings. Definitely safer to throw the Blast Burn to at least get either guaranteed horrendous damage or guaranteed shield. My opponent actually throws a Psycho Boost, and then they build up and throw the second Psycho Boost. I can survive the second one because the attack is greatly dropped, but even greatly dropped, you can see how much damage it does. Without the attack drop, that would absolutely demolish me. So Sableye comes in, and I have energy, so I throw my Dragon Claw to get my free shield. And now I will not shield the return, although it might have made sense to do it. The only reason I don't is because I don't know what's in the back. And now I will bubble a little bit extra to right before they have the foul play, and then I will throw the play rough. So now because of that, if Deoxys comes back out, I will be able to reach the play rough before they're able to get to the Psycho Boost. 3, 4, 5. So I'm throwing it as their fifth one is being thrown. So now they have the Psycho Boost. But I land the play rough, and I'm anticipating they are going to throw 5 counters. So they might have back-to-back Psycho Boosts right now. Throw the first one, and I figure they're going to either switch out or throw the other one. So either way, it makes sense to throw a Pelipper to get like a piece of a wing attack worth of energy started, and it's Pelipper with 1 shield versus Azumarill with none. So we definitely have seen this match before. Throw the Hurricane, wing attack, and throw the Weather Ball Water, and Azumarill should faint as the switch clock is running out. Throw another move. This one I will take. I'm wary of a switch-in of Deoxys around the time that Azumarill is about to faint. I throw this Weather Ball Water now. And here's the switch-in, and I mash the Weather Ball Water button, get it out. Pelipper does win CMP ties versus Deoxys, so kind of safe there. Not even positive he had a move stored, but regardless, it definitely felt like the smart thing to do, just throw that move as soon as it appeared, since I had it. Next up, against JTR 803. Charizard versus Abomasnow, very favorable lead for me. Charizard is getting a lot of favorable leads this video. I just have been noticing that is the state of the meta. There are a lot of fighters and grasses in the front, with, plenty of Azumarill mixed in, and I'm sure there's Galarian Stunfisks out there, but I haven't been seeing any. A Skarmory would be nice. That's fun for Charizard. But a lot of grass, won't complain. I'm going to win this switch in. I am forced to throw energy here because my opponent is at a Shadow Bone, and I don't want to have to shield. And Abomasnow comes out and is going to farm me all the way down, which is why I think it probably makes more sense to send Azumarill into Marowak. Throw the Weather Ball water. I waited to the last minute to throw that. You know, just trying to get anything to get me more of a chance that they will try to shield it. Shield this Weather Ball because I have 2 shields. Azumarill switch in, and now I'll throw my Azumarill out, and I will increase the video speed to 3 times because I love you, and I don't want you to have to sit through an Azumarill mirror match at just 1.5. I shield once, they shield once. Now I'm going to start taking damage from the play roughs, throw out my other play rough. I really just need to burn off their last shield at this point. If my play rough can burn off their last shield, I can send Charizard in and blast burn them. Meanwhile, I only really have to be cautious about them trying to catch a move on Abomasnow. But it doesn't happen. I throw this Blast Burn in the middle of the bubble animation, so they can't have switched out at that time. Blast Burn lands, and Abomasnow is 1 Fire Spin away from fainting. My opponent escapes before his Pokemon faints. Definitely the kind thing to do. Don't want our Pokemon friends being bodied for no reason. That person has a name that is really hard to pronounce, and opens Altaria, which is a really hard lead for me. Altaria is actually probably my least favorite lead. Like, I'm more happy to go up against Azumarill, just because both Charizard and Pelipper don't have a ton of play, so I can't switch out. So thankfully my opponent shields the first Dragon Claw. It actually only does about 40-ish, 45% damage. And then I send out Azumarill, they switch to Shiftry, and I have to bring in Pelipper, because I need to keep my Azumarill alive and healthy to take out the Altaria. I wait until they throw their move so that I'm getting in extra little bits of wing attack, and I need to shield this. Now I throw in wing attack and am going to fire off this Weather Ball water. Hopefully they shield it, but my opponent's too smart for that and doesn't, but I'm able to get 2 wing attacks in, and my opponent's Pokemon faints with definitely a Leaf Blade's worth of energy in there. Now I just need to get to Hurricane. I get there but don't get to fire it off, so that's really unfortunate. And they switch into Marowak, and since I'm not carrying Hydro Pump, I don't have a really easy way of taking it out. I'm not going to shield the first Shadow Bone in case it gets the defense drop. It does, that's really bad. Get this Play Rough off, eat up the last shield. I wait to throw that until they are ready to fire their move, because if they get in an extra Fire Spin, I'll be in really even worse shape. And they bait me with a Bone Club, which is also really bad for me. Land this Play Rough, and if I can just get this last bubble in before they get off a move, they faint with another Bone Club of energy in there, and if they'd gotten it off, I'd have even less health. Now I'm going to take a Sky Attack with my defense drop, still just barely survive it, under tap, get to the Ice Beam, and fire this off before I get fainted, and that Ice Beam is just enough to take out the Altaria. So good game to my opponent. That was a really stressful match. Really hate Altaria leads. They are the most difficult lead for my team. I get rewarded with a Snover, which is great because I need that Candy XL really badly. Gotta make so many Abomasnows now for Ultra League. My MMR goes up to 3175, which is great. It's slightly ahead of the top of the leaderboard from that day. Probably won't be number 1 tomorrow. Well, I guess that's today now, because I'm sure plenty of other people will work their way up there past that point, but I will look that up after I'm done with this video. Actually, I'll just look that up now. Thing. Okay. I promise I don't check this every day. At least not on my computer. I do it on my phone like a normal person. Okay, really not... Oh my gosh. Smarter Than You is smarter than me. That's wild. And very much not first. Okay. 6th. That's fine. Top 10. Opening with Shadow Charizard. Shadow Charizard's not really supposed to be viable, but if you use a Pokemon cleverly and back it up with smart things that complement it, you can get a lot done with probably most any Pokemon. I'm definitely a firm believer that you should use the Pokemon that you want, not just blindly use the meta, because that's what's going to keep Great League interesting, using the things that you love instead of just the Azu Stunfisk core with whatever you want to lead with. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to be a good citizen by liking and subscribing and doing the things that you're supposed to do. You know you're supposed to do them. Just do them. It doesn't cost you anything to do it, and it helps me out because it makes me feel nice. Yep, that's all it does. I'm not monetized. I'm not getting anything, but it'll make me feel good. That matters for something, right? Come on, do the thing. Like my video. Also share it and do the other things. Okay, bye. Did I not stop?